Hello all, it's Stabby here. I'm just going to be discussing the tempering of rage. So, while we don't technically have an infinite pool, yeah, it is high enough that it works out to be, we have a lot of it dammed up, right? Which, yeah, means that there's a need to find a controlled release, essentially. It's been incredibly important, if for nothing else than preventing it flooding out. And then, overwhelming things, essentially. Okay. Right. No edit. Set that thing. Move. No edit. Okay. You over to here, and then you down and around, in more, and you in more. There we go. Yeah, okay, brilliant. That looks better. Okay, but yes, so we need to be able to avoid that flooding of, emotion that would remove our ability to think with, logic and sense, which would inevitably lead to poor decisions being made. This is a large part of why, we act the way we do in many ways. So, it's also, been, well, I suppose you don't know, right? That's the whole point here, is you don't know, but yeah. Anyways, it's been, crucial for our survival, essentially, to be able to do this. And so, there's been important reasons to learn for, the purposes of ensuring continued survival. And it's, useful to be able to temper it into things like forward motion and motivation and drive, which tend to be important skills for anyone looking to achieve most of anything, essentially. Right, you will in play, and then you and you fill in a dark green for now. There we go. Just give some idea what's going on. That's one colour entirely, but whatever. There we go. Okay. So it's not an easy process, but it is a practicable skill. Practice. Yeah. So it's mostly akin to opening valve on a dam, and then letting us work with that. Then so opening up the dam to gather the needed rage from the pool, and then from there, almost without real thought, just well, no, that's not at all true, but okay, so open up the dam and then take some of that rage, and then using it sort of akin to molten steel, I suppose, would be the best comparison. It's not perfect, but it works. Is to then cast and forge it, right? Turning it into a blade or a tool of some kind, right? And so, when visualizing it as something of a physical experience internally, but the core aspects don't need to be that at all. You know, the core aspects are pretty much just those of, you know, doing the thing, right? You do the thing, and then because of doing the thing, you survive, essentially. That one does not need to be, whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, the main part of the trek is essentially learning to do the thing by doing the thing. I know sounds simplistic, because in many ways that is a gross oversimplification, but yes, that's sort of the intent, right? Is by moving them all into, is by doing that, you know, it can help. So, the important component is the core of what's being done. You know, so taking the rage, the running energy, and, you know, turning it into a tool, a weapon to use on the walls holding you back, right? That doesn't need a specific visualization, you know, especially with practice. What you're looking to do is to, is to find that pool, that, you know, core of, not necessarily core, but, you know, spring of roiling energies, and then tapping a small amount of it, right? You then look to channel it into something approaching a useful, into something approaching a useful, how do you call it? I don't know. Into something approaching a useful. Oh, come on, my brain is failing me here, but, yeah. You're looking to turn it into something, right? To channel it into functional approaching of the, so you're looking to take that energy and then channel it into something approaching, into something useful, right? So turn it outwards carefully, right? And, you know, especially when you're first doing this, you're going to want to be very careful with how you're doing this. You know, so you want to be very careful with how much you use and what you're using it on, right? Because it's very volatile, and saying it's very volatile and then experiencing firsthand what very volatile means is very different. So, yeah, it's very volatile, and you're going to want to figure that you're going to want to have that experience firsthand before you've got an accurate assessment on how volatile it is, essentially. But, yeah, it's a very volatile force that can very much screw you over. You know, it can mess with you in ways you didn't expect if you're not aware, essentially, beforehand of what it's capable of and what it will do to you. So you're going to want to be very careful with that, as to what it's doing from a efficacy perspective, essentially. So, yeah, you're going to want to watch that and then be cautious about it. And so that will take time and experience to learn in any great detail, but it can be learned, and you will figure it out with time. Right? It's just a matter of finding the time to do that. And that will be done, right? You can do that. And there are times and places for it, and it will be useful. Right? You just have to take the time. and that's not necessarily going to be easy or simple, but yeah, practicing with it will give you better control, right? And then, yeah, so start with minimums, right? Start with caution, and then with that energy, right, you'll have hopefully more capacity to act. You know, there'll be, yeah, it will be providing you with a lot of motivation to just do something, right? To burn off the energy, right? Because now it's available in, it's an available energy source, and it's going to want to burn off because that's the type of energy it is, right? It's energy that very much wants to be burnt off, and to have something done, right? And it wants to burn fast and bright, and that's why you want to be very cautious with this, because you want to be able to temper that, fast, bright desire towards action with logic, compassion, some amount of calm, right? You want to have a plan as to what's going to be done, what actions you're going to be taking, so it can be usefully done towards those things rather than something else less useful. And then, so you're very much going to want to make sure that you have those things considered. And then, with those things in place, you can, essentially enact the plan, right? With very minimal, without, ideally, the perfect situation is you pull just the right amount to do the plan and then nothing more, right? But that's very unlikely to happen. And then, so you're probably going to end up with spare rage essentially left to burn, right? And then having things to do with that are less destructive is definitely helpful, but essentially the core of this is that what you're looking to do is, if there is that built-up rage, right, you're probably looking for, it probably needs to get out, right? It's probably looking to overflow the dam, per se, right? And so you're going to, let some of it out of the dam, and then, take some small amount of it, right, before it explodes out. And then, with that small amount, you're going to very carefully and deliberately turn it towards a specific goal, with a specific plan in mind, and then it will give you, essentially, the key that you need to do it, right? Is by having that kick, you then have the push to act. And with that push to act, you can then do what needs to be done, right? And with that, do what needs to be done, you then can push forwards and get it done and spend some of that built-up energy that wants to explode out and essentially reduce its volatility and its need to explode out. You're taking away some of that explosiveness and you're taking a small amount of it, right? That's the important thing, is it has to be a very small amount, right? Because if you take too much, you're just going to explode. And that's going to be messy. And that's not what you want here, right? What you want here is something small and clean and controlled. And so, yeah, you're looking essentially to, take it and then, we use a forging metaphor, right? I use a forging metaphor, right? It's taking a small amount of it and then tempering it into a tool, into a blade, right? Into something that will just cut through whatever is holding you back. Not literally, generally, but it's not a matter of necessarily literally cutting through anything so much as being able to take that and use it to cut through the drag whatever is holding you back, dragging you down in your day to day, right? The fatigue and exhaustion and burnout and malaise and all those things, right? Those are all very reasonable things to be experiencing, and not things we'd ever hold against someone, right? I'm not going to hold any of that against someone, but right, sometimes you just need to act, and the way to just act can be right. This is a tool for just acting, as well as preventing then an explosive blowout at a time where it's not useful and not desirable, which is pretty much always, right? Because those explosive blowouts tend to be incredibly destructive, whilst by doing it this way, you can turn that destructive energy in a very deliberate fashion towards something productive, at least somewhat productive, right? And that's really what you want to be doing here, is channeling small amounts of potentially explosive energy into something constructive, right? A rocket is essentially a huge explosive, right? That's what rockets are, generally speaking, is it's huge amounts of explosives. But by controlling the rate at which that's released, you then get something useful, right? You get the ability to go up into space, right? To make incredible things like GPS networks, right? And, international communication on an unparalleled level, and huge amounts of scientific research that would be impossible without. And that is what you are looking to do, essentially, here, right? Is not necessarily go that far with it, but the same basic principle of take this thing that can be incredibly destructive and use small amounts of it at a time to be able to act, to be able to push further, to be able to do the things that need to be done when they need to be done. I hope that's helpful. This system signing out. Hope to catch you all next week. Please do remember to like, subscribe, comment, especially if you've got any questions you want answered. Be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video. So catch you all next week.